Okay, Goldie, this is about to be your 12th year with the Mariners. And one of the things I really wanted to make sure we asked you during this conversation was taking you all the way back to when you got the job. Because I feel like there's a lot of people out there that probably don't know what an interview process looks like to get a big league broadcast job, and especially what it looks like when you have to travel out there and meet with all these different people. So I'd love to pick your brain about that a little bit, about what your interview process looked like to eventually get the Mariners job.
Sure, absolutely. I will start by saying, just like a path to getting a big league job, the interview process, there's nothing standard about it. I have, whether it be my own experience or my own experience comparing to friends and colleagues who've been through similar, I mean, it can run the gamut. I once had a friend tell me they interviewed for a job. This was a long time ago, well over probably like 15 years ago. And they gave him the Wonderlick Test. Which, like, let me tell you something, man. Ain't no way I'm getting a job if you give me a Wonderlick Test. I mean, I am straight back to Pawtucket by the time they get through grading half of it. They're like, Aaron, just get on the plane. Goodbye. Goodbye. I mean, I would be terrified. I would flunk that thing in a heartbeat. So the Mariners were super professional about it and very buttoned up, which, keep in mind, like, the position I interviewed for was on the totem pole of broadcasting. It's the lowest rung. Like, I was the number 2 radio guy. I'm going to call 3 innings of play-by-play. It's not like I was interviewing for the lead radio voice or the lead TV voice. So for them to be as professional about it, given how low it was in terms of a resume, or in terms of profile is a better way to put it, speaks even more. Well, first of all, I sent them a CD. This is still in the days of CDs. And I got an email back a short while later that basically said, in so many words, we have heard your demo tape, and we have put all of our applicants in one of 2 piles. A pile of those who we think stink, and a pile of those who we think don't stink. And congratulations, you're in the pile that we don't think stinks. You'll hear from us more shortly. And I was like, over the moon. Like, I couldn't believe it. I mean, it was the first big league job I'd ever applied for. I just got done calling my first season of AAA ball for the Red Sox organization in Rhode Island. Like, I had no business applying for this job. I had stink pile written all over me. And to make it into the don't stink pile, I mean, I'd already won. Like, I'd won. This is incredible. That's not actually what the email said, but that was the gist of it, obviously. So I then had a phone interview. And then after the phone interview, they flew me out. It was my first time ever to Seattle. I arrived on like one of the 7, that might be high, 5 just pristine sunny winter days, right? Like blue skies, 49 degrees, mountains are popping, lake is glistening, sound looks amazing. I was like, well, this place is it. Amazing. I got an email from Randy Adamak, who was the gentleman who eventually hired me, who's recently retired for the Mariners. Just a sweetheart of a man who I'll always owe so much to. And he said, tomorrow we will be doing a mock roundtable in the radio booth with you, Rick Riz, and Mike Blowers. And the topic will be the outlook of the American League West in 2013. So be prepared to talk about that with those 2 guys, which was great that he gave me the heads up on it. That morning, I had breakfast with 2 top executives for the Mariners, which was like the most terrifying way to begin. Like, can you give me some like media relations intern or some like, social media new hire that I could talk with first? I'll never forget when we had breakfast, I was the first one to order, and I really wanted the pancakes. But I thought that would send a bad message, like just wolfing down some pancakes, like with some like like older gentlemen that I was dining with, like more mature. Let's put it that way. And so I was like, man, like nobody wants to eat oatmeal, but I think oatmeal would send a better message of just like I'm like mature beyond my years, you know. So I was like, I'll take the steel cut oats, please. And one of the gentlemen, one of the executives I was with, said, "You know what? That sounds good. I'll take the oatmeal as well." Yes, I was like so pumped. I was like, now we're talking. I've already influenced a breakfast order. This is mine. So I felt pretty good about that. I did not enjoy the oatmeal, but I felt like I thought this might pay me dividends further down the process. Eventually had moved on to a meeting with like all the heads of state. It was like pretty intimidating, honestly. I'm just this pipsqueak minor league broadcaster who like doesn't know anything basically. And it was Randy. It was Kevin Martinez, who's now my boss, who was senior VP. Rick, Kevin Kremen, who was the forever producer engineer for the Mariners on radio. He was the producer and engineer for the Mariners on radio for, if I'm remembering correctly, 35 of the first 40 years of the Mariners. So he's got a little bit of weight. He knows a thing or two. At the time, our director on TV for the Mariners was there as well. And there might have been one other person. But bottom line, it was like more people than I thought were going to be there, right? And they were all very nice, but they were just whizzing questions at me. I mean, just one after another about everything from your favorite player growing up to your style broadcasting a game. I remember it being fun, challenging, but fun. And it was just like kind of an out of body experience. I just couldn't believe that I was here doing this. I didn't think that this would maybe ever come, let alone this early in my life. I then got lunch with Rick, or I got lunch with Rick later in the day, I guess. But then after that, we went to the home radio booth and we did the round table with Mike. My first time meeting Mike. And I remember walking into the home radio booth. I'd only been in one other big league radio booth before in my life. And it was not nearly as spacious as this one at T-Mobile Park. And we were like walking in and looking through the windows and looking at the grass and just kind of like panning my head from left to right, from foul pole to foul pole, and just looking at the ballpark. My first time ever seeing T-Mobile Park in person and just being like, man, this is just gorgeous. And I was picturing myself calling games there. And then I started to like really feel myself kind of mentally spiraling. So I turned my back to the field. We put the headset on. We did the round table, which I overthought more than anything in my life. It's like, well, I don't want to say too much because then I'm hogging the conversation. But if I talk too little, the whole point is for me to talk. Like if I don't talk enough, they're not going to know what I sound like. So trying to like balance this sweet spot with two people that I've never talked baseball with before, and Mike and Rick. And we got, and like half the people from the boardroom came up to the radio booth and sat in the producer's tier of the booth. So they're like right there, just looking down on you, which made me more nervous. And I had no idea how it went. When we were done, I was like, that could have been great. That might be the worst thing they've ever heard. I have no idea. I have no feel for how that went. Then I got lunch with Rick, which was great. And remember Randy gave me a full tour of the ballpark. Randy and I got dinner later that night. And then it was like fly back to the East Coast and cross your fingers. And I really convinced myself that I was not going to get it. I had heard of some other candidates and all of them had big league experience. I obviously did not. And I was like totally at peace with it. This it's not my time yet. I still got a lot to learn. And I was just over the moon and beyond belief that I got an interview at that early in my career with the big league team. I remember telling Heather, my wife, I remember saying, hey, the next time I get one of these, like, I'll be ready. I'll be prepared. I'll have a better idea as to what's coming at me. I'll be calmer. I'll be less nervous, and maybe I'll get that one. And when they offered me the job, it was a moment I'll never forget. And it was outside of like the gender of our 3 children, which we were surprised with each kid. It was the biggest surprise of my life. Like honest to goodness, couldn't believe it.